If you have your Bible, open, if you would, to Ruth chapter 4. And we're talking about kingdom influence, kingdom impact. And we're talking about the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven. And as we follow Christ, we want to just be a bit more than just coming into services on Sunday kind of as a crowd, just getting enough energy to go out and live a life that we can barely make it so we can come back next week. No! We want to be able to live in victory. We want to be able to live in the strength of Christ, the Spirit of Christ, to be able to go out and live an abundant life, right? And we want to be able to live that life with Christ in us and through us, and we want to be able to make a positive influence in our homes, in our communities, wherever we go in our world. And I believe we can do that. I just think we can do that. If you think that, say yes. A few of you do, and I think it's wonderful. I believe we can do that. And I believe many of us are living that way. But today's message takes us into a little bit of a territory that expands that, explores that just a little bit, and wants us to really focus in. So if you look in Ruth chapter 1, you realize that Ruth opens up with 3 funerals. Man, it's sad. Dreams dashed, plans altered, life struggling. Tears. Naomi's husband dead. Ruth's husband dead. Orpah's husband dead. That would be Naomi's husband and 2 sons. For Ruth, that's her husband and father-in-law. For Orpah, her husband and father-in-law. So Naomi huddles the ladies together and says, well, I don't have any more sons for you, so you might as well go on back to your people. Might as well go on back. Orpah, she says, well, I think I will go on back. Now, some of you know who Oprah Winfrey is. Her mom and dad thought they were naming her Orpah, but they didn't get the spelling right and called her Oprah. For real, true story. They didn't get the spelling right. And so Orpah went on back among the Moabites and started a television show. I'll go Almadeo on you for a minute. Make it up as I go. No, she went on back among the Moabites, and Ruth said something very prolific, chapter 1 of Ruth. Your people will be my people. Where you go, I go. Your God will be my God. Sukasa mikasa. This is basically what she's saying. Only more rich, your God, my God. She says, no matter the future, no matter whatever, I have picked up something, I have seen something, I have learned something. I don't want to go back to the life I did have. I want to stay with you and forge ahead to a life we will have. And so she says to Naomi, I'm going to be with you. So Naomi says, well, I'm going back to Bethlehem. Now, Bethlehem means house of bread. There had been a famine on, so now when they go back, they're headed back into that area whenever it's better times. This book doesn't end with them just looking at the 3 freshly dug graves. It continues on, and by the time you reach chapter 4, you see that there's a wedding plan. Ruth's sorrow is now turning to joy, and she is getting excited. Her life that looked like was destined for poverty and maybe living in the real low levels of society has just taken a massive and dramatic turn, and she is definitely getting an uptick in what's going on in her life. As a matter of fact, when Naomi came back, she came back into town. She said, I'm going to change my name. She'd had 3 funerals, and that would bring a lot of sorrow and sadness. And she said, just call me Mara, because I am so sad. But by the end of that, her hands, which were so empty early on, are now full. As her lap is full, she has grandchildren on the way. She is excited. As a matter of fact, she would have joined me, I'm sure, in saying she'd have had grandkids first, if she could have. You'll understand that someday, if you have grandchildren, hopefully, because they can be a terrific delight. But it reminds me of a passage in the Psalms that says to us, sorrow and weeping may last for the night. Some of you are in that season of night. You're in there and you're changing your name from Naomi to Mara. But joy comes in the morning. It's in the same verse, same brackets, not in different zip codes, just same verse, telling us, guess what? When it talks to us about Jesus in Isaiah chapter 61, it talks to us about the fact that he comes to bind up the wounds and to heal the brokenhearted. That's getting so good and so strong. And it says to us that he wants to help us out in some other ways. He wants to do something for us. He wants to give us a crown of beauty instead of having these ashes of sorrow all over us. He wants to give us the oil of joy instead of mourning. He wants to give us a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. I don't know if I'm going to make it. Let me just get real honest with you. I've lived on both sides of that reality. My life has been a series of tears and triumph, tears and triumph, tears and triumph. And to be honest, yours maybe has been similar as well. So today you may find yourself anywhere in any of those continuums as you're going along. So we join with these ladies here, but there is something else that's unique about them. As they are in the situation they're in, they have a different culture than we have, different time period than we have. Next in line in relationship, folks, next in line of the guys, they would be in line to marry Ruth. Now, if they marry her and they have children, those children take on their deceased father's name. This person that marries her is called a kinsman redeemer, kinfolk redeemer, coming in to kind of rescue and kind of help and to lift up the name. And so we're going to look at that in just a little bit, but I want to take you to a kid fable, a kid story that you might remember if your memory works back that far. I think it will. Do you remember the three little pigs? Can I get a witness in the house? Oh yeah, oink oink. You remember the three little pigs, and they didn't play for the iron pigs, they were different pigs. All right, these three little pigs are ready to strike out on their own. And that's a great time in their life, getting to leave home. Remember when that happened? Hey, a lot of scare, a lot of fear, a lot of excitement, right? Young and dumb, didn't know any better. You're ready to go. I just need some straw. If I could just get some straw, said the first pig, it'll all be good. And so he goes and builds him a house out of straw. And the wolf came along, didn't he? You remember that? The wolf came along and he huffed and he puffed, and what did he do? Absolutely blew it down and had a little bacon. All right. Now the second pig was a little smarter, a little stronger evidently, and he said, if I could just find some sticks. And he went down the market, they had a deal on, he was able to get him some sticks, or kind of make it up as I go, but he did, and he got him some sticks, and so he built him a house out of sticks. Now you'd think this would be a little bit more formidable, a little better, a little bit more huff and puff's going to have to happen from the wolf. But sure enough, house is completed, steps back, and he says, oink, oink, this is great. Goes back into his little house, and the wolf showed up, and the wolf said, hey, what's up? And he huffed and he puffed, and what did he do? Absolutely, smithereens, and this time he had ham. And so, third little pig said, I've got to do something about this. I don't want to build like my brothers. I like bricks. They've got a deal on bricks. He goes down to the brickyard, works it out, gets him some bricks, and he goes and he builds him a house out of bricks. Now he finishes this up and he says, this is awesome. House I've always dreamed of. Always wanted this house. He goes inside, he kicks back, pops on America's Funniest Home Videos, and he's watching some videos, and all of a sudden, he hears a knock, and it's a huff and puff guy, and he's come to try to blow the house down. And he blew as hard as he could, and he couldn't blow the house down. And the pig lived happily ever. Absolutely. When we look at Boaz, he's a kinsman redeemer, and he is coming along in this story now. And guess what? He's wanting to build a home with Ruth. But he's not next in line for the kinsman redeemer, somebody else ahead of him. So the first brick that he will use to build his home that will last, so when the life happens, all of the sorrows of life blow against him, it's going to be able to stand. Okay? So the first brick that he uses is a brick of character. He chooses to go in here and build a home through character, verses 2 through 8. His character is seen through several ways. First of all, he acts very responsibly. He knows full well he is a kinsman redeemer. He does not have to redeem her back. He could redeem her back. But he knows that there are some other people that would be ahead of him, so he's got to follow what's going on with the particular rules of the community and the rules of society. So he decides, I've got enough financial wherewithal, I can do this, but I'm going to have to decide with the other kinsman redeemer if he wants to redeem Ruth or if he is going to allow the estate to sit dormant and do something else with it. And so what he decides he's going to do is sit down at the city gate. So he's going to show some respect because the city gate is the courthouse. How many of you have ever gone to the courthouse or to the town hall or to the township or to the borough leaders and you've had to negotiate something? That's exactly what he's doing. He's going before the elders of the community in this case, and he says, I want to talk to you about something. I want to conduct some business, and I want to do it now with this other kinsman redeemer and see what is proper and what is acceptable in this moment, just to understand what his plans are. So he explains to this other relative. He says, well, if you want to buy the estate, Ruth would go along with that. You may do that, and you'll be responsible, and you'll raise up a family in his name. And the other kinsman redeemer, that other guy sitting there, he says, I don't think I want to do that. And the scripture says, because I'm afraid what that will do to my estate for the rest of my family. So they had a most unique understanding of how they did things culturally at the courthouse. Boaz says, I'm going to live with the decision that is made here. I'm not going to try to negotiate and bicker and bargain with you. I'm going to leave it just as it is. So if you don't want, and I can, I will. But if you decide you will, I won't, and I'll respect that. We're talking a brick of character. Now, I know something about yard sales in Dutchville. You live in Dutchville. We are Dutchville. So we live here in Dutchville. Matter of fact, Pam and I had a yard sale a few years ago where we wanted to get rid of a bunch of stuff we considered junk. And so, or at least stuff we didn't need. And I mean, it was okay stuff. But we set it all out, and I said to her, how about we price this to where they pay us to haul it off? She's like, okay, let's get the price down so low that they can't resist when they walk up here, and they'll buy. It was an old riding lawnmower, and it ran, and it was, it was a bunch of other old stuff here. And let's just price it so these people will get. Well, these people were coming up here and said, wow. I remember one lady coming up to her and saying something to the effect, the prices are so low, we can't even dicker with you on them. And I said, you know how you go in those little restaurants, you ring a bell if you like the food, After, I was like, ding, 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 we have a winner. That's why we do it. We want you to pay us for this junk so you can haul it off. Otherwise, we got to go pay the dump. And we don't want to do that. So you haul it off. So they were hauling off all this stuff. Pam doesn't ask for much. She's my wife, Pam, and she doesn't ask for that much, but she said to me, said she wanted a 3-swing, porch swing, little canopy deal for out on the deck. I thought we already had one, but she seemed to think we needed another one, so I learned that we needed another one. So if you had asked me, did you need another swing for the deck? Yeah! What you talking about, Willis? We need another. So anyway, we were over at Walmart in Lehighton, and we were waddling around through the store. And as we finally got over to wherever we were, I said, oh, let's look at these swings. And we went over there. Well, they had the swings on sale. They were already starting their fall clearance. Oh, man. We had a problem. We were in the little convertible, and it's only about as long as 2 chairs. And so I couldn't put that swing in there, or I'd have to leave Pam there and take the swing. Well, I didn't want to do that. Or she'd have to drive it home and leave me there. Well, I didn't want that to happen. That wouldn't have been so good. So I said, wow. So we went back home. Pretty soon I said, well, I know you want the swing. How about we go to Whitehall? Need to do a couple other things. How about we go to Whitehall and we go into Walmart over there and see if they have a swing? If they do, maybe, We went into Whitehall and we got over there at that Walmart, and they had the one she wanted. And And they hadn't started their fall clearance. Can you believe that? We started dickering and said, your brother down the street, Lee Heighton, already has this thing $100 off. You guys need to get with it over here. What's the problem? So I was talking to the lady. She said, well, I've got to get the guy above me. And I said, well, let's do it. And so she did. And the guy above her came over. And he said, I've got to get the person ahead of me. And I said, well, let's do it. I'd like to meet all of you. And so he put in a call. I kid you not. How long were we there? Long time? 30 minutes waiting? Maybe? Finally, the guy said, I hate this. On Fridays? He said, we've only got 18 employees in this store. I said, I can believe it. I can believe that. 3 Walmarts closed, only affected 30 employees. And I said, my goodness gracious, wow. Pretty soon a person came back and they honored that price. Boaz sat at the gate and he said, I will take the deal. If you do the redeeming, so be it. I want to ask you about your character. We're talking about a brick of character. What is character? Here's a definition that I think you might want to put down. Character is who you are when God is looking. He's looking all the time. It's not who you are when you're in the big house or under the bridge. It's just flat out who you are. And this was who he was. Dave Getz, minister and writer, told about he and his wife as they were young people. She took a job as a nurse. And this was her first day on the job. And her first day on the job, she is wanting to impress, of course. A mother comes in, she needs a physical, and she's bringing her little child who needs a shot, an immunization shot. The child is 18 months old. So they come in to the clinic, and her mother, the grandmother, waits out in the lobby along with a sibling. And so the mother and the child come in. Jana, first day on the job, gives a shot. The mother takes the child out to the lobby to give to the grandmother. While the mother's out there, Jana feels in her pocket and realizes, I gave the wrong shot to the child. We're talking about a brick of character. What would you do? Dave writes, she gasped when she realized her mistake. Here's a sequence of her thoughts that followed. No one will ever know. No harm done. Oh, I can't tell the doctor. This is my first day on the job. Doctor will think I'm incompetent. It can't hurt the boy, can it? It doesn't hurt to be immunized twice for the same thing. But he needs the right vaccine. What will the mother say? But I will always know, and so will God. The brick of character. How would you have handled that? Eventually, Jana was in the room just with the doctor and said, I need to tell you something. And she told the doctor what had happened. The doctor said, okay, I'll take care of it. You're not losing your job, but I will take care of it. And the doctor went in the room with the mother and said, we have a problem, and here's what happened. Can we schedule your child to come back in a couple of weeks and get that other vaccine? And the mom says, yeah, no problem. And the anxiety meter in Jana, according to Dave in his writing, lesson. It's kind of quiet in here right now because all of us are doing a character inventory, aren't we? I'm not asking you to dig up something you need to dig up. What I'm asking you to do is to release those things to God and to say, God, by your help, I'm going toward this kingdom influence, a house of brick. I'm building solid, no huffing, puffing, blowing this thing down. I'm building for keeps. I'm influencing for you, Christ. I am on your team. There's another brick. There's another brick that Boaz picked up. He built his home through relationship. I'm a little bit amazed at how many people will be married for a number of years and then become like ships passing in the night under the same roof. It's amazing the number of people that will choose to become this. Kind of grow apart in interests, grow apart in life, grow apart in patterns and the way you go with it. But he decided he wanted to build a relationship. You know, they had a fishing competition in Michigan recently, and at Lake Michigan, someone caught a very interesting catch. They caught a fish, and it had a zip tie around its tail with a ring on it, and there was a picture of it on the screen. You see it. Actual picture was in the news this week. And so they started making a big to-do about this, and so someone came forward and said, well, guess what? That was my wedding ring. I was married 10 years, and then we were divorced for 4, and being divorced, I didn't know what to do with that ring, so I didn't want to pawn it. I decided I would put it around a fish's tail, so I caught this fish, put it around a fish's tail with a zip tie, and just released it back into Lake Michigan. What a dumb nut thought. Excuse me, but time out, you are a dumb nut. Okay, now back to the message. What a dumb thing what he did was a dumb nut. He may not be, but what he did was absolutely dumb nut. All in favor, say aye. All right, he was dumb, so don't do that. This dude catches this fish at this contest, and he gets a fish, and he's wondering what's up. They find out the story, and the guy says, well, I want to return the ring to the guy. Because he said, since I've caught the ring with the fish, with the zip tie, I've had nothing but bad luck. My motor won't work. I'm having all kinds of problems on my boat. I want to send it to the guy with no return address. And the other guy says, well, I really don't want it because when I finally got rid of it, I started having a better life. Man, I started thinking, shee-wee, there's got to be a better way. And Boaz, help us out, would you please? So he did. Boaz stepped up and he started helping us out. Chapter 2, go there, verse 5, look at it. Here's what Boaz said. He says it different culture. Whose young woman is that? Can I contemporize it? If you're all right with that? Wow, who is that? She's fine. He said something like that. And he wanted to know who she was. So he kind of moved around to see if she had a wedding ring on. Probably didn't have that going on, obviously. And then he discovers a lot about her. He starts listening because look at verse 11. I've been told a lot about what you've done. I've been told. Look at that. I've been told. Notice something. He starts his relationship not with some kiss and some physical, emotional experience like that. He's starting this out. Listen. He starts this relationship out in a beautiful way with communication. Notice that? Chapter 2 is communication. Go to chapter 3. Communication continued. Go to chapter 4. They have a wedding and they have a honeymoon of sorts. Boaz's relationship with Ruth is a budding relationship with love. She wasn't someone he wanted just to live with. She's someone he didn't want to live without. Roger Zerb suffered from dementia. And I feel very bad for everybody who has suffered from that and those that may feel the winds of that right now. And as he had had one particularly frustrating week, he was like, what am I going to do with this? So he's feeling just a little calmer, and he wrote his wife a letter. He said, today fear is taking over. The day is coming when all the memories of this life we share will be gone. They're just going to be gone. You and the boys will be gone from me. I'll lose you even as I'm surrounded by you and by your love. I don't want to leave you. I want to grow old with the warmth of these memories, and don't we all? Forgive me for leaving you so slowly and so painfully. That was the end of his letter. Becky, his wife, wrote this in response and shares it now with the world. My sweet husband, I will continue go on loving you and caring for you. Not because you know me or remember our life, listen to this, but because I remember you. I remember you. I remember the man that proposed to me, told me he loved me, and looked our children in the face when they were born. The father he was, the way he loved our extended family. I recall his love for riding bikes and hiking and reading, the tears with sentimental movies, and I add, probably wasn't watching Hallmark. the unexpected witty remarks, and how he held my hand while we prayed. I cherish the pleasure, obligation, commitment, and opportunity to care for you because I remember you. The second brick Boaz put on top of the first one was relationship. Guys, I'm going to talk to you just for a second because we're talking about Boaz. You chose her. You chose her. Or some of you are in the process of choosing her. Just because you've been married for 30, 40 years doesn't mean you have to not like them anymore and not love them and be ships passing in the night. Nope. You can choose to do something with them. You can choose to be friends with them. You can choose to say, I love you. You can choose to spend time with them and look them in the eye. You can choose time to not be hiding away in some man cave somewhere always. But you can interact and still be sweethearts and lovers. And you can grow old with her. It is possible. We have so many examples before us. There's one more brick. I want you to listen really fast. Boaz built a home where God had bigger purpose. When you give your home to God, when you have God here, you here, her here, guys, you grow toward, then you don't know exactly all you're going to experience, but God can help you. You're going to have some tears like they had those funerals. You're going to have some funerals. You're going to have some relationships with kids that are going to go wonky, and it's going to hurt you. You're going to have some relationship with some grandkids that are going to be puzzling to you. You're going to have some relationship with some of the in-laws that are going to stink sometimes. Don't say amen, but you feel like it, I know. You're going to have some situations with some of the extended families, maybe a brother-in-law or sister-in-law, who meddles more than they should. You're going to have these kinds of things where your feelings come and go and where your health may fade a bit and you're not just like you're 21 anymore, you know what I mean? And there you are and you're dealing with life. You're still married. What are you going to do with that? How are you going to live with all that? Well, God has a bigger purpose. And his bigger purpose may not have just totally been fulfilled when you were 20, 30, 40, 50. Maybe he's got something for you when 60, 70, 80. Did you ever think of that? Colonel Sanders was old when he started KFC and he hit a home run. Granny Moses was 80 when she started painting. She hit a home run. Moses was 80 when he finally got it figured it out and hit a home run. Abraham and Sarah, good grief. They had kids when they were, fossils. It was amazing. They were at the wheelchair race when they found out. He was getting a cane, ready to pole vault with his cane. He found it. We're going to what? Oh, man, this is exciting. You don't know what God has in mind for you. He's letting you breathe air. You can pray. You can think. You can encourage. Ruth seemed to be outside God's bigger purpose. You may not think you're in God's purpose or even aware of you. She was born on the wrong side of the tracks, lived on the other side of blessing, it seemed. But she had married into something, and God was raising her up for something. She went back to Bethlehem with Naomi. She started picking up grain out in the field like the servants did and was getting a little bit. And when Boaz saw this, he said, leave a little extra for that chick. Leave a little extra for that lady. Can you just imagine she goes home? Let me just embellish a moment. She picks up a little bit more because they've left a little bit more. And now she comes home and her and Naomi start having that chat about where you been. What'd you do? You got so much today. Wow. You didn't steal that. No. Man, did somebody give you? What in the world happened? They let you on the front line harvesting? Well, you've been out in Boaz field, right? Boaz field. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Boaz wasn't a bozo. He wasn't some dimwit down the street. He wasn't just the first thing that came along. Eventually, look at this. Ruth goes from picking up grain behind the reapers as one of the servant peasant people. And she goes from that to eventually marrying Boaz, and they owned the field. Weeping lasts for the night, but joy comes in the morning. And when you come to the end of this book in chapter 4, go there, chapter 4, if you mosey down to the last few verses. Verse 16, then Naomi took the child in her arms and cared for it. She's so excited she got this little grandbaby. The women living here said, Naomi has a son. Kinsman redeemer bought back, right? And they named him Obed. All right. And look at this. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. This then is the family line of Perez. Perez the father of Hezron, Hezron the father of Ram, Ram the father of Amminadab, Amminadab the father of Nahshon, Nahshon the father of Salmon, Salmon the father of Boaz, the father of Obed, Obed the father of Jesse, Jesse the father of David. You see where that's going? That's coming right down into Matthew chapter 1 with the genealogy that Matthew opens up writing about Jesus. Are you kidding me? Wow! God may be up to something very big. So in your tears, remember, joy comes in the morning. We're about kingdom influence. We're about living until we're dead. We're about believing in Christ and living more than just a Sunday religion.